Well, Brian Wang, I don't know. Doggone it, we keep being right.
Yeah.
Well,
Which is,
sort of right. We're
yeah.
right, and yet we're not quite right. But it was quite a day anyway. No matter whether we're right or wrong or whatever we are, it was pretty darn close to everybody's hopes and dreams being realized today
Hmm.
as we crossed over 440.
Hmm.
So, what were your first thoughts as we actually closed above 440?
Yeah. So closing a day over 440 is a huge thing. But as I mentioned before, I was saying, we mentioned before, when we get to 440, you can go over by a couple of bucks. You can end a day over by a couple of bucks. In this case, $3. But then if we fall back away tomorrow below right away or at the end of the day, then it kind of doesn't count. So, so the question of but really strong if we retest 440, come down from 443, hit 440 and hold. So we
Mhm.
just refuse to go down below 440. That is when you converted the resistance into support, and then you can, bounce off, continue, and continue moving on. So, yeah, so it's a good thing. It's the first step, like
Right.
get over, hold it, and then keep going.
And of course, it could always, for reasons of news or just because of profit taking or any other reason, we could go back down and test a whole bunch of different previous support levels. Now, there was really no technical stuff happening between 400 and 440, but now there's all these different technical levels
Right.
that we could test going back down, I suppose.
Right. And just like it was a quick move from 400 up to 440, because there's this, it's kind of like an air pocket. It's like not much trading there. So when you can fall off, you just quickly fall down right below. So it's a steep part of the roller coaster is where it is. But it's still good right now. So hopefully we'll hold tomorrow.
Yeah, and now instead of being considered, gee whiz, how comes Tesla is even in the Magnificent Seven? It's now people going, well, how come Microsoft is in the top? I mean, was it Microsoft? No, am I getting it wrong? I'm sorry, Amazon. Amazon. How come Amazon is in the top in the Magnificent Seven? Because their shares have not done that well this year.
Right. And but it's way more than seven. Like in terms of like the number that are over a trillion.
Right,
You have Broadcom,
right.
Tesla's all in there. I think Oracle's getting darn close, or is in the trillion. I think kind of like knocking on the door. Um, uh, TSMC is kind of there. So like a bunch of things
Sure.
are getting. So I've written about this. That basically it'll be expanding.
Right.
Especially as the tech AI boom continues, there'll be just loads and more companies in between the 1 trillion, and then the top can go up from 4 trillion up to 10 trillion.
Right.
So this is like yeah.
So maybe we'll have the tremendous 10 or something. I'm not sure. All right. So going forward, then, that's of course what everybody's really interested in now. And you and I have talked about it potentially hitting all-time high before the meeting or around the meeting. I did a little quick analysis here, and of course I've said a bunch of times. CERN Basher did it with me. He did it with Herbert. He did it with I think at least the two of us, and both of us, all three of us, came up with about the same number. That if you really look at a reasonable analysis of Tesla's value 5 years from now, and then discount it back to present value, you come up to about $3,000 is what it should really be selling for. And some people go like, $3,000, well, that's crazy. All right, we have Waymo is worth 45 billion. Waymo is worth 45 billion. They have how many vehicles?
1,500, trying to get to 2,000.
Maybe 2,000. And maybe if they stretched it, they could get to 5,000 next year.
Right,
And it would be an absolute disaster if Tesla had less than 20 times that next year.
right,
And Elon is saying he thinks we'll have 200 times that next
right.
year. So let me take 200 times 45 billion. What would that get us to, Mr. Math guy?
200 times 45 billion, that would be I think 9 trillion.
9 trillion. Oh, just on robotaxi alone, if we
Yeah.
use Waymo's number. Now, okay, then we got Figure. Figure is worth $39 billion now.
Yeah.
Figure is worth 39 billion. And let's see, they've got zero proof
Mhm.
from their current team. There's a zero, 100%. There's not a bit of proof that they can scale this robot, even if they can make a robot that's useful. They don't have any experience with scaling something of this type to big numbers.
Mhm.
Zip, zero, none. I
Right.
mean, I'm not saying the guy's not a good guy. What's his name? Adcock.
Adcock, yeah.
And he's got this, this virtual liftoff, airplane thing that he did,
Mhm.
but that hasn't scaled. They're not making millions of those. So he has no experience scaling.
Mhm.
Okay, and they're at 39 billion.
Mhm.
Let's see. And I think if Elon doesn't ship at least 25,000 robots next year, we would be like, what?
Mhm.
And then probably 250,000 or 500,000 the next year, we'd be like, what are you doing, Elon? Just standing around with your finger in your ear?
Yeah.
So 39 billion, I don't know, take a number and
Yeah.
make that times 100. That'd be
Not to rain on your rant,
okay, okay.
but to push back a bit on that, it's actually because they are on hopes and dreams that at the big market that they can get to huge numbers. Because I think there was a point where Waymo was worth 200 billion,
200 billion.
and they had even less, right? Because it was like,
Hopes
we
and dreams.
believe it's going to happen, hope and dream, and that kind of stuff, right? So, figure is hopes and dreams. But then, you get to that, you have the trough of, the hype cycle, and then you have the trough of disappointment, reality hitting, and then you have things executing. So if Tesla goes rapidly into executing show me, it's just kind of like you can have NVIDIA can have a pop on ChatGPT,
Right.
and then it follows through with profit and revenue growth going up 10 times and all that kind of stuff, right? So the follow through into real big money trillions is from actually delivering on that. So, and um, for Tesla to surge on robotaxi hopes, Tesla bot hopes, um, with some reason, like we have a reason, we see it clearly now, and then it gets ahead of itself, right? That's where it goes to like $1,000, but then collapses to 500 or 400 when the earnings didn't follow through quickly, right? It's like you can get ahead of it. It's like the roadrunner running off the cliff. You can run off the cliff for a while, but then gravity will get you if you don't have the support of actual earnings and earnings growth.
Or even if you have Tesla Q coming in like they did with NVIDIA. NVIDIA dropped dramatically because everybody's worried that there was not going to be exponential growth forever. And then they kind of overcame that. And then in came, what was it called? The DeepSeek. And it dropped like, what, 30%, 20, I forget,
Yeah,
a lot,
yeah, a
like
lot.
in a
Yeah,
few days.
yeah,
So we know that that can happen, but all I'm saying is that when we talk about Tesla's valuation being on them, just completely stupid or dumb or whatever, if you compare it to Waymo and Figure, seems to me that maybe well, it definitely seems to me that we're undervalued.
right, right. Although again, um, you know, as a shareholder who's been there when Tesla went up and got ahead of itself and
Yeah,
then went back
yeah,
down,
yeah,
I prefer to it go up, with more real reasons. Like again, you'll take it when it
yeah,
does
yes.
go ahead, but it's getting profit growth really happening, getting other things really happening, getting to 1 million bots, and having the substance
Right,
with the run is just like when they went up in 2021, when they got
right,
actually having a lot of Model 3s,
right,
actually opening up China, Model 3 and Model Y,
right.
all that substance, all that profitability was, a sustainable run.
All right. So even having said everything that I just said, I'm having a hard time imagining Tesla getting over the all-time high. I mean, it might get to 500 or something by or just after the meeting, unless there's a lot of different things that could happen, right? Between
Right.
now and then. So first of all, we have three meetings.
Mhm.
Well, not three meetings. We have a number
Mhm.
on the second. We've
Mhm.
got a meeting on the 22nd or somewhere around
22nd,
there.
yeah.
Got another meeting on November 6th. And by the
Was it
way,
6 or 7? Yeah.
November
6.
6th.
Yeah.
And then we have, and by the way, it's just barely into January, we have another number. So
Right.
we have kind of four known dates
Yes.
where there's going to be news,
Right.
any one of which could send the stock into the next to the next level, which for you and I think right now is between 700 and 1,000. Is that fair?
Yeah. That'd be fair. Yeah.
Now,
It's up or down. Like
up
the
or
numbers. Yeah. Yeah.
and I looked it up. I asked Grok because I didn't want to do the math myself. Getting really lazy. I asked Grok, and Grok says that at 600, the company will be worth 2 trillion. And that becomes Dan Ives' number, and it's also another round number. I can remember owning Apple shares and having it sitting under 1 trillion and just beating and beating and beating against that 1 trillion. It took a really long time before it got over that 1 trillion number. So I can imagine Tesla having a lot of trouble getting over the 2 trillion number, but that would be $600 a share.
Mhm. Right. Um, Actually, I think once you go into all-time highs, the technical people like the Fibonacci's and something like
Yep.
that. So I
Mhm.
think it's generally about like an extra third or 30%. So if 48 is where you're moving up from, then it's probably more like 640, 660. That would be the next level.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. And other people are also pointing to 450, 460. Some people, of course, are saying, well, 500 will be a round number. So those are, and then 480 or 488.
Right.
488 was the intraday
Yeah.
high, 480 was the closing on that day. So those are some of the numbers, I guess, that we're facing over the next few weeks.
I think if you punch through 48, 500 should be nothing because they're like only $12 away. It's
Right,
not
right,
there.
right, right. I would think so too. But that could be a hard one to get through.
Mhm.
Okay, then yesterday when we had our little meeting at this about the same time, we were talking about the fact that I didn't think it would get through 440, and I know apparently I was wrong by $3 so far. But what we did talk about was the fact that we agreed that we'd had five different people raise their shipment estimates, and that therefore any additional shipment estimates would probably not impact the stock because it was already done. That was in. It was already
Yes.
figured in. But what I hadn't expected, and which I've been talking about, though, I said I thought people would start raising their earnings estimates, but nobody had.
Mhm.
But then all of a sudden today, Wolf Research raised their earnings estimate to 55 to 60 cents, which is way over the street's 49 cents. So
Mhm.
you think that's what got us over the number, got us popping over the 440?
Um, I think there's mainly a lack of um, bear case. There's lack of things that can really knock us down a
Mhm.
lot. A lot. That the car production we're looking at, maybe as high as 480, 500,000, 520,000. The estimates are coming up from 430 up to 450 and that kind of thing. So if we're substantially higher, then on that, and then substantially higher on energy, and then we have interest rates coming down. It's like all the factors are aligning or saying things are good. On the one hand, you can say if everything's good and then something starts going bad, then things come down. But for now, all the news is good or good enough. So we're in that zone.
So you and I both have a channel. Both of us are sitting, way under 100,000 subscribers. So we're a little channel. We're
Yeah,
just these little channels.
yeah.
It's good enough. It's good. I'm happy with my channel. But anyway,
Mhm.
but we're not these giant channels. So we do need to take victory laps when we do something right.
Yeah.
I was by far the first to start talking about a possible EPS in the 70, 80 cent, 60 cent. My number is between 70 and 90 cents, so I'm higher than Wolf. But no, 2 or 3 weeks ago, whenever I did that show, nobody had even contemplated that we'd be looking at something well over 50 cents yet.
I would just say like and subscribe. If you don't subscribe, it kind of helps us on the algorithm and blah blah blah. So yeah, so we've been right on it. So we're giving good information, and more people should avail themselves of that by looking at that. So yes, right on the trading levels, heading up to 440, we said to go through 350, and that all-time highs were definitely possible. And if everything went perfect, and they haven't gotten all perfect yet in terms of like robotaxi, et cetera, it is not inconceivable that we punch through the 800 to $1,000 level by the end of the year, or given some leeway of the January stuff, the January
Right.
2nd and January 22nd numbers.
Right. So now in that 43 days between now and November 6th, it's only 43 days that we have the number, the first meeting and the second meeting. All that's going to happen in that time. Well, we could have, I don't know, huge updates on Robotaxi. We could have Model Q. We could have FSD 14. We could have unsupervised, not to mention some kind of an Optimus update. All of those things could happen in the next 45 days. Could that combination, if all of those things happen in the next 45 days, we had Robotaxi unleashed, I guess you could say, if we had the Model Q reveal, if FSD 14 rolls out, if unsupervised is available, even just in Austin, and we get some kind of an Optimus update where Optimus looks pretty good, could you imagine we might break out of the 500 range and get to that 700 pretty quickly?
Yes, yes. That has been the argument that I've had, that if you have all that stuff, in particular um, a low price model or some other situation where the sales growth getting to 600,000 a quarter and beyond is in the bag and certain, and then we'd be looking at, projecting out, we would say, okay, it's going to be 800,000 cars per quarter in, most of the quarters in 2026.
Right.
And we know, okay, the robotaxi story is in the bag. So if we know those things are there, that those combined are a double ChatGPT moment. The robotaxi moment and the car sales growth in the bag moment. Those would mean that the Tesla story would be basically bulletproof for up to $1,000 or more. And that the so long as the earnings followed through,
Right.
that okay, next quarters we're starting to see substantial growth every quarter, right? 30% more each quarter, something like that. If we're rolling like that, then yeah, 1,000 by the end of this year, possible 1,500 by the middle of next year. Like, yeah, that would be a fantastic, yeah, big
So,
climb. Yeah.
so Wolf Research, who was the one who came out today with I think 470,000 shipped. They were smart enough to also include the energy. They didn't give it an estimate of what they thought it was going to be, but they said it would be up. But they also said that they expected the fourth quarter to be off in terms of earnings and shipments. I think that there's no chance it'll be off in terms of earnings because I think the deployments will be making a huge difference in the fourth quarter. But what are you thinking in terms of shipments? Do you think we'll fall back? I think we've both said in the past we thought they'd be kind of matchy, but what are you thinking right now about the fourth quarter?
The big wild card for the fourth quarter is China's 𝐤𝐚𝐽.
Mhm.
If we go, you know, my I would expect about 40,000 𝐤𝐚𝐽s, which would mean an average of 3,000 per week
Week.
instead of
Okay.
1,000,
Mhm.
right? So if it's 1,000 per week, that's, like 13,000 for the quarter.
Mhm.
If it's 3,000, it's 40,000. And it's not inconceivable that it gets to 5,000 per week
Yeah.
and have 60,000. So if you have those extra 30,000 to 50,000 cars, then it'd be pretty easy to substantially beat 500,000 and to beat Q3 if you have that extra edge. And there's no reason to see um, Europe numbers softening. Like, Tesla just said, hey, we're going to keep producing more cars
Right.
in Berlin, which can go from 52,000 low in Q2. It can go to 80,000. They can add 30,000 there. And then the US numbers could also be good, especially if they get and actually build some kind of Model 2 or stripped down Y or something.
Right.
And they can make that in China market as well as Europe as well. So you would need to have that announcement in October. It would have to announce in October
Yes,
and start
yes,
launching the vehicle in October
yes,
in
yes.
order for it to move the numbers in Q4.
Right. So then even if we were off a little bit in quarter four in terms of shipments and EPS at the end of the day, with the other stuff we just talked about, with Robotaxi and Optimus and everything else, but then we get into the first quarter, we know we're going to get Semi and Cybercab.
Right. So we care about semi. It would not be a big mover. It's a nice to have, but because it takes a long time to ramp, it won't move the needle. Cybercab move the needle. Cybercab moves the needle, especially if you make a lot of them. So that's a big, um, more important um, than even compact Y, I think. The
Yeah,
Cybercab would be a bigger deal. And also Cybercab is a big deal because it means that you're really building them under the assumption that your FSD and Robotaxi work,
right.
right? Because that's the whole purpose of it. So
Yeah, and I was thinking about this earlier today. We've got all these new cities being added in terms of being, with the what do they call those vehicles that are out there with the LiDAR on top of them or whatever
the LiDAR verification type vehicles,
verification or yeah.
yes,
So we have
hyper mapping, yeah.
we're, they added another city overnight. They're now in the Dallas suburbs. They're in Arizona. They're in Nevada. They're in Chicago. They're in New York. Now, and then they're also hiring people for safety riders in all those areas. I don't think you'd be doing all that if you didn't think you were going to soon begin actually putting vehicles into the mix.
Yes, so they are going through the motions of scaling. Yes, a serious scaling. They're going through they're doing what needs to be done under the assumption that's going to happen soon.
All right. Well, that's all I have to think is to say about the stock price right now. But I do think it's on everybody's mind because we've been sitting here, with this kind of this 440 thing, and whether or not we're going to get back to all-time highs. And I think it's a lead pipe cinch at this point to get back to all-time highs and then some. But the 700, in order for you and I to take another victory lap, we were definitely, well, you were the first. I guess it was about the same time, but initially I was at 1,000, you were at 1,500 for the end of the year, first quarter. I think we've both backed off just a little from that number, but not much.
No.
And now people are catching up with this. I've seen a couple of people, serious players besides just Dan Ives, starting to talk about 600, 700. One even yesterday was a technical analyst said 900.
Mhm.
So we're not they're catching up to us, Brian.
Well, it's easy to say when you're at 440 and within, a day of punching through maybe to 488, right?
Right.
Then you can say, okay, well, can we follow through beyond that? Yes, you can. Well, where's the next number? 600, right? It's easy to say that that's happening, but it's tougher when you're like 3 or 4 levels down or, like at half the price, like 220 or something like that and say, hey, it's still going to go ahead and get a quadruple,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, we made a tougher call.
Yeah, I don't know. When is CNBC going to start calling us? Anyway, okay. Listen, I was going to shift gears. Can we still say shift gears anymore? We can't actually use that as a phrase, right?
I think various phrases around horses and carriages still around. So, or trains. So, okay.
So we can still say shift gears. All right.
Mm.
Well, this is actually my last story, unless oh no, we got to talk about the numbers, of course. But anyway, the fool who is ruining, I'm using that word advisedly, not running, who's ruining the state of California, today took full credit with a
Yeah.
straight face
Yeah.
for Tesla's success.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you say,
I tweeted out after that Al Gore said he created the internet, and Gavin Newsom says he created Tesla and the electric car industry, which is weird claims to make that you as some legislator can do that, especially for Gavin when he's been like chasing Tesla out of the state.
Right,
Kind of
right.
like, even though I chase you out of the state, even I do all this bad legislative stuff to you, even if I'm, doing all these bad things, um, all your success is mine.
Yes, yes, yes.
So,
After years and years and years of laughing about Al Gore and his statements about the internet, I did some really deep research on that, and it turns out that he actually has kind of the same claim to the internet that Gavin is trying to have for Tesla, in that Al Gore did apparently kind of pave the way for some of the internet legislation.
right,
He-
I knew that. Yeah,
okay,
yeah. So
yeah,
I knew that he had, let's say, just same thing for Gavin. But the thing is, in terms of like legislation, in terms of like early funding, they gave more money to Boeing, for their space launch system. They gave more money to GM and Ford for that. But those companies didn't go,
yeah,
achieve the great things. So the thing is, you gave more money to those other groups
yeah,
and nothing happened.
yeah.
So the fact that you like, water was released on all crops and then one grew up is kind of like, you weren't the farmer, it's like,
Yeah, and then Al Gore, he only unleashed on us the greatest, according to Trump, and I would agree with Trump. He unleashed the greatest con job on the American public that's ever been done. My children were forced to sit through that movie
mhm,
over and over and over in their classes in junior high and high school. I mean, it
yeah,
was like, every teacher had to show what was that thing?
inconvenient truth.
Inconvenient truth. Yeah, it turned out to be an inconvenient lie,
Mhm,
as Trump pointed out to the United Nations yesterday,
right.
that all of the speculation that cities would be underwater, islands would have disappeared, who knows what else, severe storms would have destroyed everything.
Mhm,
None of it turned
yeah,
out to be true. And
right.
Brian, I have been railing against this since the 90s. I
Mhm,
had a blog starting in 1994, just about when blogs came out. And I can't tell you how many of my posts were about the nonsense that was being perpetrated. And remember, I'm only a social scientist. I'm not a real scientist
yeah.
like you.
Mhm,
But I did my homework, and
yeah.
I would actually read the IPCC.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you actually go in and read it, which nobody does,
Yeah.
you read the IPCC, they've never, ever, ever, ever said that this global warming thing was going to be existential. Not one time.
Yeah.
They also said that maybe by 2100, I think it was going to potentially cut GDP for the world by 4%,
Mhm,
something of that nature. That was
yeah.
kind of the worst case scenario,
Yeah.
and that it might cause a lot of migration.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
know I've been talking a long time, but I'm going to add my last little rant here.
Yeah.
And my answer to that was the number one biggest migration, maybe in the history of the world, was in the United States from north to south,
Yeah. Yeah.
where what, four of the top 13 cities in the United States right now are in Texas.
Yeah. Right. Well, I would say that I think Joe Biden may have done that, reducing the GDP by 4% by himself, and then also did a migration thing of like 12 million people.
Right
So
into the country. Yes,
into
right.
the country, yeah, yeah. So these things happen. And the thing is, there was no need to say, you know, whatever energy switch, was a good idea because of climate change. You could just said, hey, this using these other technologies, we have air pollution that kills 2 million to 4 million people. Like there's a perfectly valid. We have a World War I level death thing going on here. We should fix that. That'd be a good thing. Um,
Brian, when I was 19, no, 20 years old,
mhm,
I went down to the Rose Parade with my little petitions
yeah,
and handed them out at the Rose Parade to get people to sign for Prop 1.
yeah,
I'm all about cleaning up the air.
yeah, right,
100% for getting rid of all the particulates.
right,
Please, let's do it.
yeah,
But that isn't
right,
the same as existential threat.
right. And the thing is, it's clearly now we're going to build loads and loads of natural gas power. It's all backed up in here for AI.
Right.
So again, it's kind of like we want to do this clean energy thing, but never mind for a few decades,
Right.
which is also aligned with us. It's like never mind for a few decades.
Yeah.
Like you want to go that direction. It's a good direction to go in, not necessarily for that reason, but like there's no reason to make it up. It's like there's reasons to do it. There's also reasons why it's not urgent,
Right.
but it's like it's okay to do it. It's also like also the behaviors of you must not throw away plastic bags, or like you have to use a different kind of straw, that kind of stuff. You're just being mean and being controlling for no reason.
Yeah.
Because if I'm dumping 8 billion tons of coal per year, and that's tossing that into the air, tossing the ocean, and that's just part of the pollution thing, then the fact that a few people have a minor amount of plastic that gets buried in the ground is irrelevant. So it's just like this thing, it's just like I'm gonna focus on, the not the World War I killing so many people. I'm gonna focus on some kind of carriage seatbelt thing, that's gonna save like 500 lives. It's like 500 lives versus, 5 million. It's just like you're not talking about the same problem.
Yeah.
So why are you, distracting with that kind of stuff? So
As isn't it Schellenberger who says,
Mhm.
if you really, really, really want to solve the pollution problem where it matters,
Yeah,
is you would get natural gas to the folks in a third of the world that are still using wood and dung
yeah,
uh, in their homes
that's right.
as a fuel. Yeah.
Right, right, yeah. Get rid of the indoor air pollution, and you work on shifting, which the U.S. did, shifting a lot out of coal into natural gas. It's half the problem. It's like it's the coal is twice as bad as
Right.
natural gas. So making that easy shift is something that can do quite quickly, which
Right.
was proven before.
Right.
Yeah. So it's all again understanding what your trade-offs are, and
Exactly.
then getting a realistic look at it, and then you make the right choices, and then not having to say creating bizarre artificial deadlines.
Right. 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 And bizarre fear mongering.
Yeah.
Anyway, we know that the politicians love to fear monger.
Mm.
Brian, is there anything else before the numbers?
No, let's do the numbers.
All right, let's do the numbers. The numbers are Tesla was up 3.98%, which got it to 442.79. It was higher than that during the day. In fact, the high for the day was 444.21, which I think was a little bit less than the other day. I think it was 445.50 or something. Anyway, but in that ballpark, so we know where we are. And then we're down 0.21 in the after hours at 441.88. All right, now let's go take a look at the rest of the numbers. We have got my favorite number, which is the bonds. Are you ready?
Yep.
What's my number that it can't go over?
I can't remember. Sorry.
4.15. 4.15 is the top. No going over 1 point, no 4, it cannot do it. We're at 4.149.
Mhm.
So that's it. I'm sorry, we can't go up anymore. It's up 0.2 in the pre-market. And so now we have to stop this nonsense. So everybody go out and buy bonds.
Okay. Sounds like a World War II thing.
That's right. That's right. Buy bonds. Oil came down a little bit after being up strongly, and it is now at 64.75, down 24 cents. Natural gas has been in a very kind of a narrow range for natural gas, sitting at 287. It is up a little bit, 0.59. Any thoughts about natural gas or oil tonight? Anything that you've heard or okay?
Well, basically, natural gas is, I think, going to have constant demand because of the AI stuff. So the AI data centers mean a constant demand for that. So that's unlikely to go down. The big thing would be, if there was a breakthrough on peace with Ukraine and Russia or something like that, that would be a big
Right.
mover. There's
The
probably
other,
some other geopolitical things that could happen.
the other thing that should be affecting natural gas, and of course it is higher than that, and sometimes it goes even lower than this, down around 2, is of course that the president has made all these deals with Japan and all these other places about them buying from us rather than from other folks. Copper is up to $4.76. And this morning I promised people I would find out why. Do you know why?
I do not know why.
The second largest copper mine in the world had a very, very bad accident. Several people killed, other people missing, and they have declared force majeure. And so they're closed for a while. And another,
which country is that in?
that is,
Okay.
I can't
We'll look it up.
I can't remember. I knew at the time. Seems to me it's in the Eastern Hemisphere, but I can't remember right now. And then there was another mine that is also down for a bit. Not for anything nearly as bad, but also down for a bit. So that's why copper has leapt up. It's not my theory, and probably your sharing theory, that we need a lot of copper for these data centers. This is a specific situation that caused it. Bitcoin up 1739 after several days of being off. My theory on this one would be that it's just now, what do you call it? It hit its bottom and it's starting back up again. I don't think anything's really pushing it one way or the other.
But the copper was in Indonesia.
Indonesia. See, I should have known that.
Yeah.
Ethereum down again. So it popped. It was down way like 5% yesterday. Then it popped back up this morning. Now it's down, even with Bitcoin up. So it's not necessarily following Bitcoin around right now, sitting at 4,159. Not down much, just 0.03 for the day. And the equities, Dow up 0.37. I'm sorry, that's not up. That red means down, Randy. The Dow is down 0.37, S&P down 0.28, and the NASDAQ down 0.34. So all three slightly down after having a little bit of a down day today. I think this will continue all day tomorrow. And then, of course, Friday morning, we get the PCE numbers, and Katie barred the door. Who knows what will happen if depending on, but I always want to remind people, PCE is almost a mathematical calculation once you have CPI and PPI. There's a couple of other things, but you can kind of get those too. I don't do it, but other people do. And so it's unusual for the PCE to come in crazy different from the expectations.
Okay, good to know.
All right, that's all I've got. You have any wisdom for us today, Brian? Maybe you have some wisdom. Yeah.
I'll have to come up with something next time.
I mean, come on, this is your specialty.
Right.
Wisdom is supposed to be what you do.
Right.
All right, Brian.
Okay.
All of you, go follow him. Follow him for sure everywhere he is. Follow me. Subscribe. Do all those things. And maybe even send some money to Patreon. Start with him and then me, or whoever you think is better looking. That'll be it. It's been great talking to you.
Bye-bye.